If you're like most people, you spend a significant amount of time thinking and worrying about money. Do you have enough? Will you have enough? Should you have more? But what are those questions really about? Freedom, but not just financial freedom. Because what people really mean when they talk about financial freedom is having their money work for them and not the other way around. When you achieve that, not only do you have financial freedom, you have freedom of time, freedom of relationships, and freedom of purpose. And isn't that what the goal truly is? Problem is, the system isn't set up to serve you and help you pursue that goal. It's set up to serve itself. Financial institutions are geared towards serving their own interests, not yours. So you wind up making financial decisions based on hunches or headlines, not on what's best for you and your family over the long haul. Invest is here to help you change that. As a fiduciary, we're about helping you design the life and financial plan that will work specifically for you, your family, and your bigger future. In other words, making your money work for you. Invest for Life, or I4L, is our simple, proven process based on 6 core principles that stand the test of time and can't be influenced by financial institutions, opinions, biases, or anything not driven by your dreams and desires. I4L helps you make financial decisions that are weighed and measured against your why, while our Wealth Builder app helps you get completely organized, tracks your net worth, projects what your net worth could be, and identifies future cash flow so you have complete financial organization and protection at your fingertips. Take the first step to achieving your lifetime financial potential and true peace of mind. Click to find out if Invest for Life is right for you.
Welcome, everyone, to Together We Serve TV show. I'm your host, Steve Ramona. You know what's really cool about that little video I showed you? Yeah, it was about the company, but I think they said serve 3 or 4 times in the video. Think about your financial institution or your financial advisor or people working on your finances. Are they really serving you? Is your institution serving you? You need to answer that question. I can't, and my guest can't, but he's actually going to talk to us and give us some tips about financial freedom. You know, I think it's a buzzword now. Hey, be free, be able to do what you want. And that's a cool idea, but it's just not an idea. It's got to really be worked on. And you've got to have the right people in your backyard that you can go to and get the right answers and the right answers to your questions for your finances. It's the most emotional thing besides buying a home, I think, in your life. What am I going to do with my money, especially when I make more money or I get a huge bonus? So I want you to listen, take notes, and I want to welcome my guest today. Stephen, welcome to the show.
Steve, thank you so much once again for having me. I really, really appreciate it. And you are certainly one of the classiest gentlemen I've met in a long, long time.
God bless you. We've really connected. We've got a sports background connection and all that. We'll get into that. But talk about that video a little bit and the word serve. You know, is the financial institution serving you? Are you being served? What's your mission with what you do?
Yeah, you know, when Invest was founded, the owner of our firm founded the organization simply to serve the community. And the mission of our organization is to impact 1 million lives. And that's a pretty powerful mission when you sit back and think of it. It sounds daunting, but unless you're in a situation where you can take a step back and identify the needs of others and try to identify how to help them with their financial situation to assist them to live the life that they want ultimately, then are you really serving that individual? So what we've done is we've taken a different approach here at Invest. We've taken the approach of identifying the why, and you probably heard that a couple times during the video. Really, instead of asking about products and solutions, really trying to get at what is the main goal for that particular individual and or company, and identify how to put the right financial pieces together to meet that goal. That is a completely different mindset than coming in and talking about, equities and bonds and stocks, and all of that matters, but it has to matter in the right context. And that context is defining the why first.
Yeah, the why purpose, which is why we connected when you said that in our first meeting. When you were a guest on my podcast, that was a big part of it, because I think that's missing in financial industry is the why. It kind of floats towards the money than the why. Let's go back, because this is about retirement and, of course, financial. 25-year-old, a 30-year-old, 35-year-old is listening, going, Steven, this is great. Hey, Steve, this is great. But, I got 30 years of work. I don't need to worry about.
Yeah. So, and it's funny you mentioned that, Steve. Oftentimes, when we're looking at identifying the why behind an individual's goals and objectives, oftentimes we take into consideration their age, because a lot of young folks, they think they have forever to save, when in actuality, they don't start saving until their mid 40s. And by that time, it's too late for them to make up what all of those lost years. So what do they end up doing? They end up trying to go more aggressive potentially than they probably should. They get away from what their own personal objectives are and start chasing the dollar. And that's simply because they didn't start early enough, and now they're behind the game. The earlier you start, the more opportunity there is to garner assets over a longer time and allow that money to work for you within the investment vehicle.
What's the first step for, I think I'm not really good at generational. What's that first step they need to take?
The first step is taking a look at their own situation and trying to identify where the gaps are based on their goals and objectives, based on their why. And once they are able to do that, then they can take a step towards financial freedom. The first step is always identifying the who's in your life. And what I mean by that is, oftentimes we may have an accountant, oftentimes we have a financial advisor, we could have someone that prepares our taxes for us on our business, but none of those entities are talking to one another. So it's important to make sure that when you're putting a financial game plan together at Invest, we call it a financial game board, then you're taking into consideration all of those moving parts and creating a situation where any decision that's made is made based on the overall goals and objectives of the individual long term, and not as a result of a single conversation with a single entity.
Let's flip it. I'm 63 years old. I've started, but somebody's 63, 65, 70, and they come to you, Steve, and go, I didn't really save for retirement. Am I screwed? Excuse my language, but am I in big trouble?
That there are financial vehicles out there that can certainly help in those situations. Oftentimes what ends up occurring, though, is once you start peeling back the layers of the onion and having a conversation with the individual, you find out that they may have resources that they don't think that they have by way of capital for retirement. And we call that finding lost money. Let me give you an example. We worked with a client several years ago, and that client, we ended up meeting up with the client as a result of providing education, guidance, and counseling based on the retirement plan that they were in. That particular client ended up having 2 mortgage insurances that they were paying on the same home. So we were able to identify that, put that money back to work for them, which will put them in a better position to save more for retirement. None of most people are not financial experts. They don't know what they don't know. They're living their lives every day, trying to get by, trying to raise their family, being a steward of their community. The last thing they're thinking about is each and every aspect of their retirement plan or their retirement situation. And that's where a financial advisor can come into play, a wealth manager, and put the right processes in place for them to think about money differently.
Yeah.
And when you're thinking about it differently, you're thinking about it from your why.
Yeah. And it's interesting because you know this, you know, a lot of financial advisors, so do I do. A lot would say, you're screwed. You're 70, you should have done it. And I've heard that. I've heard, not personally the advisors, but stories of people older like, hey, I can't help you. You didn't do it. I love your servant heart, your service of, hey, let's see if there is a way. I'm not going to push you aside. And that leads to the question I love to ask, and people need to hear more of. They listen to their family and friends. It's like, hey, I just got a $50,000 bonus. What should I do with my money? And, you know, a non-wealth advisor, a financial advisor gives them advice. It could be very bad, and it could be good. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you know, and that's a very, very common issue in our business. You end up having, you know, individuals and or even, you know, households that may find that they may come into a large sum of money. And the first thing that typically happens is they figure out what they can buy versus saying, well, this is an opportunity for me to speak with someone professionally to maybe put this money to work for me, versus me going out and purchasing something that, you know, gives you that high initially, but then isn't worth what you paid for it, you know, a year from now or even 6 months from now. You know, oftentimes you see folks going out and making car purchases, things of that nature. And the amount of money that they're losing on that purchase can be staggering. And the amount of time, because I oftentimes look at time value of money, the amount of time that money could have been working for them in an investment vehicle could be life-changing over the course of 5, 10, 15 years.
Life change is the key too. People don't realize, and it doesn't take a lot. It doesn't take a lot of money too. And that's the concept I've learned, and you've taught me, and other really good financial advisors that care about their customer and client. And I had a guest on here, and she's been a good friend of mine for over 15 years. She may be watching. She says she might jump on. Eleni Anastos. She talks about dating your money, looking at you. I love that phrase. I've used it.
Love it.
Thank you, Eleni. Talk about that, because I know you probably go to people and go, hey, what's your bank account look like? Oh, I haven't looked at it in 6 months. Mm-hmm. How important is that?
Yeah, you know, it's very important to understand where your finances are. But there's another point that you probably shouldn't be married to those finances. And what I mean by that is you can study and look at the money so hard that now you have blinders on, and you're making decisions based on knee-jerk reactions versus taking a step back. And that's the reason why I like the dating, okay? Because you're not married to it right now, but you're dating. You're trying to figure out what the best path is for you based on your finances. And when you do that, now you're looking at it more from a long-term perspective instead of a short perspective of, I'm going to make this purchase because it makes me feel good. We want to make sure that we're making purchases that tie back to what the end objectives are in our lives. If, for instance, if I want to send my kid to college, well, that's a pretty big expense. And that's not something I'm going to be able to do if I wait until they're ready to go to college.
Yeah.
You know, we've had clients that their goals are to, you know, take a family trip to Europe. within a certain amount of time. Well, if that's articulated to us, then we can put a plan together based on their current financial situation to help them get there. But that's the difference between being married to your money and dating your money. You have to make sure that you're cognizant that the decisions that you make today are going to impact your ability or could impact your ability to reach your long-term goals.
Yeah. Talk about goals now. How important are those? And if somebody has an advisor and they're not working on goals or working for the future, because you need to look forward as you're looking at your money or dating your money, as Eleni would so well said. Talk about that, how the goals are.
Yeah, when you're talking about goals, the way that we position it here at Invest is we talk about rules for the money. So we create an opportunity to ensure that whatever your objectives are, we're going to put rules around your money. We're not going to tell you what to do with your money. That's up to you. But we will establish rules for those monies so that when you do have a financial event that means a lot to you, you will have that money there to support that event. And it's funny because when I'm speaking with folks about, having rules for money, and they're like, what are you talking about? And I always equate it back to a game, right? As you know, Steve, I coach football. That's my way of giving back. And I always say, what would happen if you went into a game and there were no rules? Imagine that. Think about that for a moment. It would be absolute chaos.
Yeah.
Then why don't we have rules or establish rules for our money?
Yeah, that's a great point. I didn't thought about that. It's not a good thought either. You're right. It would be crazy. Wouldn't want to be coaching that game. I'll tell you that. It would be crazy.
Right. Absolute chaos.
And some games are chaos, or controlled chaos, because especially with bad refs. But
Right.
Because that's always happened. Let's flip the tail a little bit here. The business side. I know you work with businesses, founders, CEOs. Even more important, because now you're working with the CEO and he's got 100 employees. He's got those people he's got to take care of. So if he's not managing his money, these people could lose their job and be in big trouble. Talk about how you work with them.
Yeah, so that's a great question. And oftentimes when I'm having conversations with business owners, I'm helping them to establish rules around their 401k offering or their defined contribution plan offering or deferred comp plan offering. And those rules are associated with not only the business owner's goals and objectives, what they're trying to do on behalf of their employees, but also the government rules, ERISA, the Department of Labor. So my goal is, when I'm having those conversations, is to really help the business owner to understand that there are opportunities for them to not only provide resources for their employees through a retirement plan, but also reduce their own tax liabilities, their personal tax liabilities, based on what they were able to contribute to the plan themselves. In other words, making the plan more robust than the business owner thinks that it can be. And that takes a certain level of expertise to do that. But when you're having those conversations, Steve, and you see a business owner's, you see the lights come on with regards to, wow, I didn't even know you could do that. No, that's why I get up in the morning. That's why I'm so passionate about what I do. I get to help people every day resolve business-related problems and increase their opportunities for retirement.
And if you're a financial advisor, wealth advisor, whatever title you want to give them, if you're not hearing help in their conversation with you, be careful. I'm just going to say that. I'm not an advisor, but I know it's so important because it's support. It's not this way or the highway. It can't be with money because it's too emotional, and probably there's liability too when you go, hey, you're going to buy this stock, just buy it, and they lose everything. The repercussions I can't even imagine. So Yeah, right. Okay. Because I know there's FinRun. You got all your, which they should be. There should be regulations so people's not going. Talk about chaos. Can you imagine no rules in finance? Holy mackerel! It'd be worse than it is now. So talk about a business and their challenges with money that they didn't foresee, and that you helped them with that. Going, hey, and you kind of said it earlier, but talk about that because I want the owners and business and entrepreneurs especially to hear this.
Well, yes. I mean, prime example is what we all went through back in 2020 with COVID. A lot of business owners, they were not positioned to, number one, create opportunities for their employees to work from home. That's a significant expense to the business for them to do that. Number two, they weren't prepared for the impact on behalf of their customers. No customers coming in. A lot of businesses, restaurants were going under left and right during that time, and we don't have to go back and rehash or revisit all of that. But that's a prime example of being prepared for worst case scenarios. And when I'm having conversations with business owners, I'm asking them as many questions as they would ask me. Because if I know how the business is positioned, how the business is taxed, what the goals and objectives are for the business owner moving forward, what they're trying to achieve. Are they looking for an exit strategy? Are they looking to build and retain their staff long term? Then now we can look at the holistic picture of how the business is positioned and create a financial game board around how to help that business owner manage their positions long term to impact what those goals and objectives are. And when we talk about that, we oftentimes look at plan design. So, for instance, you have a number of business owners out there. They may have a retirement plan, and that retirement plan may have been in place for 8 years, 10 years, and no one's ever looked at it because it was a set it and forget it strategy. So where the business was 10 years ago, 8 to 10 years ago, is not the same position the business is in today. The business owners can take advantage of opportunities to significantly reduce their tax liabilities simply by tweaking the retirement plan, and use that retirement plan to provide additional bonuses to the employees through the plan while retaining them within the company. And that's becoming more and more prevalent throughout the industry based on the conversations that I'm having from coast to coast with business owners.
Yeah, I love that. What a double win there. You take care of your business as well as take care of your employees. The culture changes, chances people staying, all that, but we know the repercussions. And I like to say this because advisors have told me this, and I think you'll agree. These are all legal. People are like, oh, yeah, like, oh, my God, don't pay less taxes. I don't want to get in trouble. No, audience, this is legit stuff. This is stuff that you guys have gone through at your company and other wealth advisors. They're not just going to do it and say, we'll take a chance. Maybe you won't get audited. You're not tax people, but I know you would not want to put your client in that position. So with the business, before we hit the break, with money and their employees and all that, what does the owner have to do himself from a mindset standpoint with money? Because all this is talking about tools and it's awesome. But I think the other mindset from the owner of, hey, do I want to give money to my employees? No, you get your 8 to 5, you get your 80,000 a year. That's what you get. How much do you work with the mindset with the business owner?
Oh, every day. The mindset of if you're on the financial side, especially when you're working with retirement plans and you don't understand the mindset of the business owner, then you should probably find another way of making a living. Because when you're talking to the business owner, you have to put yourself in their shoes. You have to ask the right questions of what they're trying to accomplish. For example, if a business owner is paying a significant number of bonuses today out to employees, or they're paying no bonuses to employees, what's the impact of that? that particular business owner may be subject to losing those employees and or putting the employees in a position where as soon as bonuses are paid out, they could be losing up to 40% of their take home from that bonus. Wouldn't we want to think that there are other options or view other options to provide those bonuses while still protecting the long-term interests of the employees? The most expensive, um, what I would describe as tools and resources that business owners have are the employees. The employees are really expensive. So imagine having a group of employees or even one employee end up leaving the company. You're going to have to replace that employee. Well, now you're replacing that employee at a potentially higher market rate. You're going to have to give that employee more training. All of that takes time and resources. So when you start peeling back each layer of the onion and having conversations like that with business owners know that now you're looking after their best interests and you're not just looking to create an opportunity to provide more wealth for yourself as a financial institution. And that's what I so much enjoy about working with Invest. We get down to those layers. We understand the business owner's goals and objectives so that we can create the right plan for them.
And using a sports analogy, it's a win-win. And of course they make the ultimate decision. But I love that you brought up the employees and changing over the employees, because the other thing that I learned from a top business guy, he does millions of dollars a year. He goes, Steve, we forget too, we don't want to lose our good employees.
Exactly.
We've had for years, but losing employees is tough. But I've lost a good employee now. In this case, it was a promotion at another company. I was very happy for him, which a servant heart would do as a business owner, cheer them on, celebrate their win. But he says, I've lost good employees because I didn't do the right thing. So now they got to train somebody. If I've lost this good employee, that I'm not sure if this new person is going to be a good employee. So I wanted to make that point because, Stephen, that is so critical. And I love that you guys talk about that, because that's the ultimate goal, is we serve each other and
That's
do the right
precisely
thing.
right. I cannot agree more. And it's about, Steve, you and I had an opportunity to talk through this during our podcast, but it's about the community.
Yeah.
It's about being a servant of the community. And that means putting the community leaders in a position to help support and grow that community through the people. The people's the most valuable asset. And I think sometimes we lose sight of that.
Yeah. And I didn't pay you to say that, community. Together we serve. It could say, together we serve our community. So he didn't get paid. Well, maybe I'll pay him now, but I'm glad you said that, because we can't do this alone, especially business owners. They need you. They need SEO people. They need business people. They need all kinds of components. Don't try to recreate the wheel. Even wealth advisors that buy companies that try to do that, being immersed in a business and trying to handle finances, I could see that being a little problem too.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because so I've got a number of friends on the financial side, and they all think they're the smartest guys in the room or gals in the room. But I think the ones that really get it, the ones that really understand people, understand that it's just not about the finances. It's about creating a legacy for the people that you're serving. It's about an opportunity to make someone's life better today than it was yesterday by helping them get out of their own way, so to speak. You put yourself in a position where, and money's personal. It's extremely personal, right? People don't like talking about money, especially to a stranger or even family members, right? They just don't. So you have to be really careful about that topic and help them to understand that it's about creating something for your family long term. Even if you're not going to leave anything for your family, you can create a better life for your family while you're still on this earth.
Yeah.
And yourself. So being able to put those rules in place around the money that we talked about earlier allows you to do those things.
Yeah. Okay. That's You couldn't have scripted better. And this is not scripted, audience. What a great way to stop right now, to take a break. Steven's been talking a lot, and him get a chance to get a drink of water. I want to get a drink of water. We'll be back in 5-6 minutes. We're going to talk sports and business. This is one of my favorite subjects. So we'll be right back. We'll see you guys in about 5 minutes. Want to put this quote up here because we're going to dive into sports and business, and I think Stephen can resonate with this too. But I want to put this quote up. John Wooden, one of my favorite coaches, probably all-time best college basketball coach ever and forever. He says, seek opportunities to show you care. The smallest gestures often make the biggest difference. Think about that. Can you do that? What are the smallest gestures? Hey, I love your shirt you're wearing today. Hey, I love the headband on your baby's, you're wearing, put on your baby. What a cool car you got. I love the color. The smallest gestures often make the big difference. Now, this guy's a sports guy, but you don't have to be in sports. You can be in business to do that. I want to get Steven's take on this. What's your take on that, Steven?
It really hits home, to be honest with you, Steve. It's funny because I've been very fortunate to have a pretty exceptional career with some great firms. One of the firms that I spent a majority of my time with, there was a gentleman there, and I'm not going to name any names, getting to your point. Whenever he was an executive, and he would visit the service centers, and he would fly in for a meeting, and he would literally walk straight through the department to the conference room where the meeting was, and then walk straight out and leave. And I used to make that observation before I got into leadership within that same company. And it bothered me to no end, because what oftentimes what people forget is once they get into an executive leadership role, there are so many people doing the day-to-day within the firm that's keeping them in that executive leadership role. And they're making a difference in the lives of others every day. And I've never forgotten that. So when I became an executive at the firm, I made it a specific point to walk through the department whenever I was traveling to a different service center and say hello and make sure that everyone understood that they were important. My job is no more important than theirs. Their job is just different. And to make a point to walk by someone's desk and say, how is your day going? Or simply thank you for making such a tremendous contribution, and you should have examples, specific examples. That is so powerful. And you didn't have to give them a dime, but you made their day, you made their week just by stopping by and telling them just what you mean to them. And I've always had that near and dear to my heart, because the water cooler talk is powerful.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And you don't want to be that person on the other side of that conversation.
Yeah, when you're walking by and their heads are turning, that's not good.
Right.
No, and it's interesting how you said that too, because me and you and people listening, you've heard those stories. I'm a shadow of the company. The boss doesn't know who I am. My manager doesn't know who I am. Those type of phraseologies and mindset is not good because somebody's feeling lonely. I would think even more so with clients and employees in the financial industry, it's even worse because of the emotional aspect of money, earning, investing, growing, whatever it may be. Talk about that in the company of financial advisors.
Yeah, and that is a topic that oftentimes comes up, when you're speaking with individuals as well as individuals within the actual company themselves. You're having a discussion around what makes them tick and how you have a tool and a resource to help them. Mental health is a tremendous issue in today's working environment, because one of the biggest issues that employees face is not having enough money or feeling as though they don't have enough money. It's extremely stressful, which impacts their ability to come to work. It impacts the amount of time that they're actually spending at work. So whenever I'm having conversations with business owners, I'm asking those questions about, how is the office environment? Do you feel as though your employees are stressed out? Do you have a lot of employees missing work? Do you have a lot of employees that are taking long breaks? Those are symptoms of something going on. And it's been our experience, based on some numbers that have been run throughout the industry, that an employee that's unproductive, chances are they're worried about their finances. And so being able to create an environment where you can educate, guide, and counsel those employees is extremely important. And being able to do that, Steve, on their time, not on your time as a financial advisor.
My heart is smiling right now. It is so on fire because we talk about this. For me and you, it comes natural, but for a lot of people, it doesn't. And the other side of that too is this guy walks through the building, doesn't say anybody, walks in and out, and jumps into a Lamborghini. Yeah. $300,000 car, whatever that is, and nothing wrong with that. You're making a ton of money. That's not what I'm saying here. You even more so have the obligation to be connected to your employees, because you walk by and say, "Hey, Tony, how's the family? How's your new baby?" All these guys going on vacation next week. Hey, don't call into the office. Make sure you enjoy your vacation. And then he walks out in a Lamborghini. They go, "I want to be like him. I want to own Lamborghini instead of what a, excuse my language, a-hole. He doesn't even know who I am." And then he goes out in his, $8 million home and da-da-da-da. And that's just a culture that doesn't work. And I love how you said that. And I could tell you work with business owners because that's your mantra with that. I want to talk about my favorite subject, the bridge between sports and business. You coach football, like you mentioned earlier, and you're a financial advisor. What do both entities do to help you with each program? How's the coaching help with your financial? How's the financial help you coaching kids?
There are significant crossovers between growing and developing kids on the field and growing and developing talent in the office. When you look at it, they're extremely similar because you're using the same techniques. You're motivating them. You're creating an environment for them to learn. You're creating an environment for them to understand what failure looks like and how to get past that so that you can generate a tremendous amount of success for yourself and or your teammates. And it's funny because I use a lot of sports analogies whenever I'm talking with business owners. And I use the same analogies, business analogies, when I'm talking with my teammates or the kids that I'm coaching. There's just a tremendous amount of synergy between the real world, and this is how I explain it to the kids, the real world and high school. When you're talking about what you have to do to get through adversity, an adversity to a football player may mean, a cornerback got beat deep for a pass. Well, and this just happened last Friday night. How are you going to respond to that? If you're a business owner and something like COVID hits, or there's an event that hits that impacts, your quarter, how are you going to respond to that? Are you going to allow that event to dictate the rest of your year, so 3 additional quarters? Or are you going to pivot? Are you going to find an alternative solution and get past that and move on and create an opportunity to continue to grow? Every issue that occurs is going to be for better or for worse, okay? You decide which one it's going to be. It's nothing but a learning opportunity. Either way, even if you make a lot of money, you've done some things right. Well, now you have to put another building block on there. If for some reason something happens and the business falters in the short term, well, we have to pivot and we have to make adjustments. And that's all sports are all about. It's about making adjustments, right?
Yeah. Amen. And life has a scoreboard. Right. I hear people say, Steve, sports has got a scoreboard and they keep track. Well, so does life. We just don't have in our office a scoreboard with a time that says 30 years left of working, Steve. Here's, we just don't have that, but it's innate in our life, that scoreboard. How many people did I serve today? Serve this week? Serve the month? Mm-hmm. And where am I at? Right?
And that's a great point, Steve. And I love the word serve because you're not thinking about yourself. You're thinking about making someone else's life better, which in turn, for example, let's say you're in an office and you make someone's life better during an engagement. That person is going to walk away from that interaction with a more positive outset, okay, or outlook, right? So and guess what? They may impact the life of someone else in a positive manner. And it just keeps growing. It's got nothing to do with making money. It's got to do with creating an opportunity for someone to feel needed, someone to feel wanted, someone to feel like they have a purpose. No one comes to work to fail. No one, that's playing a sport goes out there and says, you know what, I'm going to fail today and I'm going to have an unpleasant conversation with my coach on the sideline. No one does that.
Yeah. So I'm going to make 5 mistakes today. I'm going to right. This way because the coach said go that way. And that's interesting with sports is you get it right. Like you'll play. You probably have, 3 or 4, like a lot of coaches football have those primary plays that just, you've got to get them down. And when you play in a game and you do 10 of those in a row and score 3 touchdowns, that's what you're saying in life and in business. You just keep rolling the momentum. Momentum stops. You step back a little bit. Maybe you have a penalty. I love this. That's why I'm so excited to have you on because participation, I'm being very controversial right now and it's okay. Participation trophies, there's a place for them, but sports teaches us because it's win or lose. We go for an interview at Invest and there's 10 people interviewing, they're not going to go. You're not going to go if you're the recruiter going, well, I'm going to take all of you because you're good. No, there's 1 spot open. 9 people are not going to make it. Mm-hmm. You're not you're not that one. You're the 9 to go away. Learn from it like you do in a play you do wrong. The coach comes in and says, hey, you did this. Hopefully when you're going for a job, your friend or say, hey, go over what happened. But there's so much crossover, like you said. It's amazing. And it's any sport. It's just not football.
And it makes it fun. When you're changing lives, either outside of the business community or within the business community, you personally, I feel good about going home. When my wife asked me how my day was, oh my God, it was fabulous. This is what I did. It wasn't anything about, I sold this plan today. I worked with this. It was about how I impacted that business owner. My goodness. I was working with a CPA a few weeks ago, and this is just a classic story. And he's an expert in his craft. We had a conversation about some additional tools and resources that he did not have. And at the end of the call, he said, this was the best meeting that I've had this week because you provided me some tools and resources that I didn't even think were available. And quite frankly, Stephen, coming into the call, I thought it was going to be a waste of time because he thought that he knew all the ins and outs of, retirement plans. So as a result, we have an exceptional relationship now. We're talking on a weekly basis. So it's just one of those things. And that interaction meant more to me that entire day than any other deal that I had closed.
And if you don't if you don't close a deal, you fall back on that going, well, that's okay. I didn't close the deal. Next, hey, I had this great interaction. And I call it Christmas. That day was your Christmas day.
It
He gave
was.
you a gift. You gave him a gift. We all smile on Christmas. We're all kids during Christmas. I don't care what age.
That's
Uh, we're,
exactly
co-
right.
we're coming to the end here. Time just absolutely flew. I knew it would because you're so humble. What's one big tip you'd leave the audience about their finances, whether it's a business owner or personal? What should they do? What's one thing they should do?
I would say, and this is a term that I use quite frequently, it's never too late. It's never too late to evaluate your situation, to identify an opportunity to make your life a little better. And when you do that, then you take away all the noise. We're all surrounded by a lot of noise every time we step outside of the house. If I can help someone eliminate some of that noise by taking a step back and evaluating their financial futures and the futures of their children and leaving a legacy, it all starts with it's never too late.
Oh, I love that. What a great way to end. Let's have some fun. We got a couple minutes left here. We asked a different question on the podcast and the TV show. So this question is, I just reserved a Learjet for you. You just made me millions of dollars. Thank you, by the way. I've got my Learjet reserved. There's 4 seats. You're in one of the seats. Who are the 3 people, dead or alive, you're going to invite, and where are you going to fly to?
Oh, well, one, and I know that this may seem like a canned answer, but one of those seats is definitely going to be my wife because I enjoy spending so much time with her. She's just a treat, absolute treat, godsend. The other one would be my younger brother, Vaughn, because Vaughn makes me laugh every time we're together. We just have a great time, and he has a huge heart and just a glowing personality. So no matter where we were headed, I knew I would have fun with Vaughn. I would say the third individual would be a very close friend of mine, George. George and I go back, oh my gosh, 40 plus years. And he's always been there for me. I've always been there for him. We're in the same industry together. So we grew up in the industry. And he is just he's a professional and he's a good family man. So if I'm going to spend my time on a destination or headed to a destination, I think those 3 would be pretty darn good company. And the destination would be Florence, Italy.
Ooh. Okay.
I mean, if you're going to put me on a Learjet.
Yeah. I might have to get 2 because I want to follow you. That's one of the places I want to go with my wife. I think we'd be flying together, so I got to reach out to McMillian so we could do that. Hey, Stephen, thank you so much for spending time. LinkedIn down below. Connect with him on LinkedIn. I'm going to leave that link up. Stephen Shackelford with the hyphen. You're a blessing to everybody. I love your servant's heart, and let's stay connected. Audience, we'll see you on the next episode of Together We Serve. Next week, it's going to be Dante Wade talking about mental health, especially with young people. It's going to be a powerful show. We'll see you next week. Again, Stephen, thank you. And we'll see you all real soon, like next week on Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern.